All right, so now that you've had a look at how Google Classroom works and how it functions, let's talk about how you're going to use it in your classroom. So obviously, using it to hand out assessment tasks, to hand out classwork, if you've got booklets you want the students to complete, sharing that into your Google Classroom is really easy. You can make announcements in your Google Classroom as well using that stream at the very beginning. You can use the app, so make sure you download the apps, right? All these G Suite apps also have apps for your phone, apps for your tablets, apps for your computer sometimes as well. So make sure you have the app, turn on notifications if you want them to be turned on. So particularly for me, I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. So on my work phone, the notifications are turned on. And on my personal phone, I don't have it at all. You want to make sure that that's set up, and I would normally make sure that my students turn it on because they do need to know that the assignment is due that day or is due tomorrow, and then you go, oh, I better make sure I get onto that. So try and convince your students to get the apps and turn on notifications as well, so that they don't miss due dates for their assessment tasks. You can use that stream section as a discussion forum for your class, and also the comments bit on assignments or on classwork and stuff. It allows you to say things once and all the students will see it because it's in the classroom and they all have access to that kind of a comment. You can use Google Classroom to create routines. So I often will have an automatic post scheduled for the start of my lesson that says, this is the first thing I'm going to do. And all my students, when they get into the classroom, they know, all right, I'm just going to go into Google Classroom, the post that's at the top, that's what I'm doing. That's my first task to do in this lesson. And then I'll get everything set up, ready to go for whatever we're going to do for the rest of the lesson, knowing that they are on task. And then another automatic post might go in. I could set up 3 or 4 if I wanted to in one lesson and not have to actually go to my computer the whole time. They will just automatically come up during that lesson. I say, all right, about now you should have another post in Classroom that has your next bit of work that I want you to focus on. It might be a collaborative aspect, it might be an assessment task, it might be a quiz that checks whether or not they learnt something from a video that I shared at the beginning of the lesson. Whatever it happens to be, it really enables you to set up that routine within your class using the app. So you could think about how you might do that. The automatic emails that are sent to the guardians is really fantastic. I really like it because you can actually ask your admins if you want to change what's included in that email that gets sent home, because really what your parents need to know is what work is coming up, what work is overdue. And particularly you want to have that focus on the assessment tasks. And so you need to think about how you label your assessment tasks and your classwork in your Google Classroom. I normally put classwork at the front and then write down what it is, and then assessment task at the front for an assessment task, and then whatever that assessment task happens to be, the title of that task will go on there as well. But that means when that email gets sent home, the parent knows, is that an assessment task that my student hasn't done, or was that some classwork that he didn't get time to finish off in class that he needs to do now for homework? And so they're going to get those emails once a week. This keeps them updated with what their students are doing. It also, if you include it, it'll also tell them what's kind of been happening in your Google Classroom throughout that week as well, what other things their student has completed. I also have used Google Classroom to create a staff PD classroom where I would share stuff with my staff and ask them to engage with videos, have them do, submit a reflection on a lesson maybe, whatever happens to be, just have them engaged and chatting and thinking about their own professional development and having that as a classroom for them. You can also use Google Classroom to collect feedback from your students. You can use it to provide for private discussions with your students around particular tasks, or just to set up a private discussion that's also public in terms of the school setting, but private in terms of you and that student having the conversation and only being viewed if it's needed to be viewed. One of my favorite things is that it differentiates the assessments and the class tasks, so that anytime I'm actually handing out work, I can decide that this task is going to these 3 students, this lot of classwork is going to go to those other students, and I can differentiate everything that's going on in my class, and that could work really well with a schedule or whatever I want to use in relation to that. But if I've differentiated my classroom, it would also make sense that I can differentiate my learning management system and what I'm pushing out to my students. And Google Classroom does that, which is fantastic.